Hi, it's Jeff.
And Denise from Mousesteps.com.
And this is episode number 518.
518.
Of Mousesteps Weekly.
Sponsored by MEI Travel and Mouse Van Travel. We are talking all about Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party today for 2024. There are still parties left and, of course, still rooms available to book. Head to MEI and Mouse Van Travel for your fall travel. We also have the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival coming up as well.
And as you mentioned, we're going to talk all about Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. This is the 20th year in a row. I personally have attended the party, although we've been to the party many times before that as well. Look at that crowd. It's 4 o'clock. This is the crowd at the main entrance to go in. If you happen to have a day pass or an annual pass and you're already in the park, you can enter over here in Tomorrowland, also by Mickey's PhilharMagic and also by Pirates.
There's the Tortuga Tavern, I believe there is. And I was going to say, I have been going almost every year since the mid-90s. Mm-hmm. So I have been going to, that's almost 30 years. Are you sure you're only at 20?
It's only 20 consecutive.
Oh,
I missed a year, like 2022, but I had also been to almost every party.
Okay.
That's what I meant, consecutive.
So we are receiving our map, our guide map. And there is also a QR code inside that gives you even more information.
And a very nice trick-or-treat bag, a much higher quality one than in previous years. Last year, or the year before, they started this really high-quality trick-or-treat bag. They're nice.
The artwork reminds me of Jeff Granito. I just thought, that's what I thought when I first saw it. So, of course, it says, this is the way we're going to the Market Street bypasses. They call it the Market Street Welcome.
And here we are. We are going to enter in that way. This year, there are some new additions, including some extra entertainment. They've started doing more and more in this little bypass. And this opens at 4 o'clock, and it goes all the way through 8 o'clock every party night, weather permitting.
And, I mean, that's a pretty good long time for guests arriving. And so it's not like there's a ton of new things back here, but there could be a character. Mm-hmm. And then there's the photo ops. You have the statues that they've had before. And, of course, they had the DJ last year. So that's not new for this year, but it's still pretty new.
Well, the DJ brings a little energy to the area.
She did.
And I think sometimes it brings too much energy because it can get crowded back there. People don't necessarily want to keep going because they're having such a good time.
Right. But they move along, quick enough, I think. And so there is the DJ, and then you have like the Minnie statue. These used to be for Halloween in the hub.
Oh yeah,
right.
I remember they were in the hub.
So for everybody, but for the last number of years they've been back here on Market Street.
And here's a look at one of the M&Ms, a mummy M&M display there.
And they are handing out the bag. There's also a treat and also allergy free treat bag. So if you have an allergy, like to the candy that they hand out, especially, you get tokens. So you just show them your teal bag and then you get a token. And then you bring it to one of the locations.
And you just saw that we got our first treat. Mm-hmm. By the way, a little bag of M&Ms, I believe.
Right. We didn't receive that at the other location. So we received a little peanut butter M&Ms.
And this is new. We have a meet from Cruella. She appears. She appears. You don't meet her, actually.
And she was not consistently here. So I don't know if she was like 15 minutes on, 15 minutes off. There's no way to know. So you may see her and you may not. We waited for at least 5 minutes to see if she would appear, and she did. So it was nice to see her.
Pleasant wait in the shade, and it wasn't very long before she came out. I think this is a great addition. It's really nice. I mean, especially if it's around between 4 and 5, well before the party starts, to get a little Halloween, a little bonus here with the characters.
And she was one of a few villains appearances. We're going to show a couple other villains later, but not as many as I thought for them making such a big deal out of villains. Like later in the evening, I also stopped at Gaston's Tavern. I thought maybe Gaston would be there, but he wasn't.
And it sounds like they are still refining it. So I think as the parties go along in the season, it might become even more refined with the villains.
So we'll see. And here is one of the step-in booths to take a picture, and we did. And so we had PhotoPass take our picture in Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride used to be at the Magic Kingdom where Winnie the Pooh is, but now you can only find it at Disneyland, or if you want to eat food, you can have a themed location at Disneyland Paris.
And these backdrops are a great thing to do before the party starts, between 4 and 7. So it's a nice little bonus. We decided to wait at Pete's Silly Sideshow because we wanted to see the new 4-character meet and greet inside.
And it was the Seven Dwarfs for the last few years, or a couple years they returned here, right?
The last 2 years.
And these, so Goofy used to meet outside. He's a pirate. Minnie's in a new outfit, coordinating with Mickey, but they don't meet together. He is in Town Square Theater.
His usual spot,
and
right?
Donald and Daisy were in the Dumbo queue and with Minnie before for many years. So they are here instead.
Let me tell you, this is a great meet and greet. I really
nice.
enjoyed this. I mean, it's so nice to have the character, to get a group of characters. I always although
Like
you
the
had
Seven
the
Dwarfs.
Seven Dwarfs and the Pooh characters. So to me, this is one of the top meets, a very special meet, and I quite liked it.
Right. But we're missing 7 characters that were here last year. So I hope that we'll see the Seven Dwarfs back.
Right. Well,
at some point.
it would be. We'll have to see what happens at Christmas time.
Well, we'll see. Yeah, but I like Minnie's outfit again. I wish she and Mickey would meet because their outfits do coordinate. But I really like her spider web theming with the purple and the green.
And I do want to mention we got in line actually around 5:30. And they didn't come out until 6:50. 6:50 they let us in, just a little early.
I thought it was about a few minutes earlier, but
maybe it was a few minutes before.
We were done at 7, so right in time for the party. We were done, so it was just in time for us. But you want to get here early. We normally have met Jack and Sally. Oh, here's the autograph card.
And this is a brand new autograph card to add to our collection.
Because they don't sign. So characters that don't sign they'll hand out the autograph cards, which is a really nice souvenir.
And this is the PhotoPass picture. They did a great job. I'm very happy with the picture.
I was going to say, usually Jack and Sally are who we've met first party.
Well, we learned our lesson last year when we waited 4 hours.
Right. It was a really long wait last year.
And I don't want to jump ahead, but sometimes good things can happen to those who wait.
We waited only 15 minutes right before fireworks.
You're spilling the surprise.
So maybe don't show up for Jack and Sally first thing.
And before we go any farther, I just want to say
trick-or-treating.
We're going to go trick-or-treating, and this is the Diamond Horseshoe.
New for this year.
Yeah, it looks really great inside.
There's a number of new locations this year for trick-or-treating, and of course you've got those M&M's items, not just M&M's, but M&M's and Mars products.
And they are shoveling in the candy. I love those shovels.
They started the scoops like a year or so ago, a year or two ago.
Yeah, they used to take handfuls, I remember.
Well, they used to use their hands, but I think that's probably a lot easier for them.
And we're about to see something else that's brand new. You have the Hitchhiking Ghosts up here, right by where the Country Bear Playhouse is.
The Country Bear Musical Jamboree. So I thought that the Hitchhiking Ghosts was a really terrific addition this year. I don't know. We haven't seen all the entertainment this year yet, so it'll be interesting to see like the Cadaver Dans we haven't seen and who else might be out. But I thought they were terrific.
And it's nice that you're able to see them in the still somewhat light, almost dusk time. And then later on you see them. We haven't seen them at night, but I've seen pictures and they're very nicely lit. So on our next party, which will be tomorrow, by the way.
Yes, we're going back.
We'll be checking out the Hitchhiking Ghosts fully after dark. And I'm kind of waiting because I know they usually need a ride somewhere. And that means one thing, hitchhiking. Hence, there being Hitchhiking Ghosts. This whole thing they do is so, look at how perfect that is.
Yeah, I thought that was a really fun addition to the party.
So before we go any farther, I was going to say this before. This was one of my favorite parties I attended in a long time. I'm not sure if it was because it was such beautiful weather or because everything just worked out, but it was really one of my favorite parties I've attended in the last 10 years. I had a blast.
We were able to do everything we wanted and more for this first party.
With ease. Without a lot of waiting and a lot of stress. It was a very relaxed and enjoyable party for me. And this was a nice bonus also. Because the first Mickey's Boo to You Halloween Parade is starting earlier this year, you're getting a Twilight version of the Headless Horseman.
But by the time the parade came, it gets
pretty dark. It gets pretty dark.
Surprisingly. But I enjoyed being able to see the Headless Horseman. But you can also see him later in the evening if you stay for the second parade.
Right, if you want to see him in full darkness.
Right.
But then they also light him up. So he really looks good. This was really nice.
We were in Liberty Square. This is not my favorite location for the parade itself. And we forgot that it is a very dark area. It's not well lit. And for photos, for me, it's not as easy. It's fine if you're not taking pictures, but I like Town Square. You know, it takes longer to get there.
It's our usual place,
it is our
and
usual.
I kind of miss that we didn't
We'll
do
do
that.
it
But it was
tomorrow.
nice to have a different angle. We've had a lot of people say, "How about a different angle for once?" But although last year we put up
Right.
3 videos from 3 different angles, including from
Frontierland, right? And Frontierland is good because if you, let's say you go down a little bit further, that's where the parade starts, and that means you can get back to your party quicker. If you are in Town Square, which is where we often are, let's say it takes at least 15 minutes to get there. That's 15 minutes less party that you can enjoy.
So this is all very similar. The only difference we've seen so far, as we've been talking, is the 2 witches or ladies who are carrying the Mickey's Boo to You banner have green capes this year, and last year they had different
The
outfits.
2 performers.
Yes.
So,
I don't know
yeah.
what you call them.
I would just say 2 performers with the banner. But otherwise, I think last year it was new to have like Clarabelle and Minnie and Daisy as the Sanderson sisters. I think that was last year.
They were great. I thought this
Yeah,
was excellent.
it was
It was
nice.
actually 2 years ago.
Okay, but this was it's something new, and it would be nice to have a little more new. Hopefully next year, I would actually like to see the whole parade get reworked, but it is really
It's
a
still
fun
a great parade.
Oh, of course.
I love it.
There's
It's a
tons
fantastic
of
parade.
There's tons of characters. There's lots of villains, and there's lots of, you know, as you would say, like heroes.
Right. And we're looking at the Peter Pan segment. A lot of interaction from some of these lost boys and pirates.
And here comes also Tinkerbell is on the way. Yeah, they were in front of us for quite some time, and you see Mr. Smee and such. But Tinkerbell, remember when the parks had closed down at that one time? Like we used to see this
This float. Just
right,
this
going
float.
through the park on its own with Tinkerbell.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I remember that. Pandemic times when they had
Yeah.
the cavalcades,
We
just the cavalcades.
We saw that float all the time through the park, but it's, you know, nice to see it in, of course, in Mickey's Boo to You Halloween Parade. And now we have
the flag waving pirates. And if it's raining, they will have mops that they juggle.
And then there is Barbossa, and I think, do we have just Captain Jack up there, or do we have Angelica around as well?
Last year you had Pirate Angelica.
Yes.
I see her not this year, so
right.
maybe she is taking a little break this time.
So, but anyway, you have Captain Jack up there, and behind Captain Jack, after we have the ship go by, we have the Gravediggers.
Always a favorite. Always a favorite. They are so synchronized, and I love when they do the sparks on the ground, and we're about to see that.
They are one of my favorite parts of the parade. I actually prefer, as we're getting more into the Haunted Mansion, then eventually the villains. The villain section is probably my favorite, but the
It's
Haunted
good
Mansion,
to be bad.
Yes, that's my favorite. But the Haunted Mansion area is really great as well.
And speaking of the Haunted Mansion area, this relatively new. You have your floating bride.
Right, it's Spectral Bride is what they called her, and
Okay.
then you have the ballroom dancers, and then the Hitchhiking Ghosts we'll see again. So we have many chances to see the Hitchhiking Ghosts at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party.
And this is always one of my favorite, as you said, one of my favorite segments. They are fantastic.
And I think when we go to Disneyland for Oogie Boogie Bash, I think there is also Hitchhiking Ghosts on a float.
Yes,
So we'll see them
they
there
are,
too.
They are really good there as well. That's another favorite segment.
In less than a week, we are scheduled to be at Oogie Boogie Bash.
Lots of Halloween
There is.
goodness.
And
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, in such an early time, August 19th, so much Halloween.
You know, I was looking up Hocus Pocus Villain Spectacular, and when that opened, and it opened in 2015, so it's almost 10 years old. That year, the first Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party was on September 15th. So over a month different, which is hard to believe. In 10 years.
In a decade.
Yes. In 9 years. In 9 years.
In the Frontierland segment, you can hardly make out those dancing scarecrows there. And here is Goofy.
And it's interesting to me because you've got the Haunted Mansion, which is spooky, but then, you know, Goofy, this area is not as spooky, but then we're going to be coming up pretty soon to the Disney villains.
Right. This kind of reminds me of a Paris segment, you know, where they talk about autumn and the fall.
Obviously I love Paris.
It's so fine in the fall, I
and
hear.
we're scheduled for Paris, so we're doing
3 Halloweens.
Yes, just like last year, which is great. We love it.
And I see Big Al in there, and Horace Collar.
Remember I mentioned the darkness. It,
Yes.
it gets dark
There's
over
the
here.
chicken. We've seen these
Yes.
chickens recently in Easter.
Easter, yes. And I don't even know if Big Al's in his new outfit. I'm not sure. I couldn't really
Look
see
at how
him as
bright
well.
it is everywhere else down
Yes.
the way. We chose unwisely. We'll have to remember, those who are watching, if you want a brighter spot, not here.
So,
Clarabelle.
Yeah, and that's again something I like about town squares. It's usually pretty bright.
That wasn't Clarabelle. That's Clara Cluck.
That is
Clara
Clara
Cluck.
Cluck.
What am I saying? Clarabelle. Clara
There's
Cluck.
Clara.
And we see Wreck-It Ralph. Let's talk about this. We tell this story every year, but many years ago, the last time I saw it was in 2003. This vehicle actually was Cruella. Cruella was driving it, and there was live Dalmatians in the back.
And I remember seeing the live Dalmatians, and I might even have I don't remember if I have a picture of it or not, but I only saw it, I think, in person that I remember once in like Town Square.
Yeah, 2003, so it's about 21 years ago since it performed, but it feels like yesterday to me.
It's a long time, though.
It's Vanellope in the Goofy Candy Company float.
It used to be Goofy in the Goofy Candy Company.
He let her drive it. He let her
Yes.
borrow it. He's occupied.
And then, yes. And, you can see it's, of course, decorated for Halloween with the candy and such. So.
And I should mention, it smells beautifully of candy. So we can't provide the smell-o-vision, but in person, it smells very scrumptious.
And here is.
Scrumptious!
Yes. Here is Ursula. And Ursula glides along. And I think we first saw Ursula, I'm not sure if it was at Disneyland or they had her at after hours here, but we might have seen her at Disneyland first.
Yeah,
doing the
she also
gliding.
appears in the Disneyland
Right.
Halloween parade.
Very, very popular. I think she did, even before here.
And
Mickey's Not So Scary.
Magic, I believe, too.
I don't even remember that. That's a long time ago too. So, but we are now into the villain segment. Again, my favorite segment.
And
I just love it.
Here's Cruella. We have mentioned she has graduated to this giant car.
I love the music here. So, yeah, we've got. Oh my God, I couldn't even see them. So, but Cruella has a spotlight. Of course, Cruella has the spotlight on her.
Always.
Yes.
So that was 2 viewings of Cruella, and this was new, I believe, last year. You have the Queen of Hearts with her cards there.
The cards, right? The cards were new, and they go alongside her. But we've got other villains as well coming, including Oogie Boogie.
Well, you mentioned,
but they really dance, and they
you
really
mentioned
dance in
your
front of us.
favorite. It is good to be bad. This used to be a castle show. This music, anyway, where you would be able to meet the characters after this song was played after the castle show. That was before the days of Hocus Pocus.
That was, I was going to say that was years ago, and I loved it. And Disneyland Paris had something similar also,
Yes,
where they
yeah.
did a show. And I'm trying to remember if it was exactly, I think it was the same music too.
I'm just very happy you are still able to see Pain and Panic after all these years. Remember when I talked about 2003, there was a whole section of with featuring them in it.
Right.
So it's nice that they're still around.
And here are Anastasia and Drizella and
Oogie
Gaston.
Boogie was there, the bowler hat guy.
Maybe we'll talk about the parade next week also.
When we have it brighter.
When we can see it better. So here is Jafar, and we've got Maleficent, who we will see again later, but not on another float.
And there's one more villain.
Who's always at the back.
Yes, and we're about to see her. It would be the Evil Queen.
Who will also see, I saw.
That was a
later.
That is a
That
surprise and delight.
For me, that was a complete surprise to see them.
It's Oogie Boogie Bash style because you have the characters in a trick-or-treat zone. So maybe that's why they're testing that.
And I would love to see that. If you've ever been to Oogie Boogie Bash, as we're watching the parade, they have like each
that's
treat
at Disneyland,
zone,
by the
right,
way, in
at
Anaheim.
Disneyland. Each treat zone has a villain, and it is like theater. Like they really, just like Cruella was so wonderful on Market Street, like that. It's just like having theater.
So now we are doing some trick-or-treating here in Mickey's Philhar Magic. Look at all that yummy candy.
And I think there were two stops here. And also, you can watch
The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. You're probably just Ichabod.
Yeah, you couldn't see
It's probably
Mr. Toad.
they probably just repeat Ichabod.
You can only have your picture with
The
with
headless
Mr.
horseman.
Toad.
Headless horseman.
Yes.
And there you just saw we got our second scoop of candy goodness.
Mm-hmm. And so we're heading out. I actually went back later, and then I went to Princess Fairy Tale Hall, but we're probably not going to see that
Nope,
right now.
we are
that
going
will be
in
later.
order. Oh, look at this. You just happen to be walking by, and a queen comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think we had just left the
Philharmagic.
train station,
Treats,
yes.
yep.
And then we waited a minute, and here comes, the Pooh characters, who we will meet. We're probably
Tomorrow.
gonna meet
That's
tomorrow.
our plan, is to meet
Yes.
them tomorrow, weather permitting.
We usually meet them during our second party
Yes.
when we do 2 parties.
That's right.
And
here
we
is
pretty
Eeyore.
much always do 2 parties, but we did 3 last year.
Right, that's right. I think 2 parties. We were so successful this first
Mm-hmm.
party. I'll be just right, I think, with 2 parties
Me
this
too.
year.
And I do recommend 2 parties if you can do it.
And this was the highlight. This changed the whole mood. So what mood
did you have?
I was already doing great, but then
How did you? So,
but I came here. We came here just to check to see Mickey. We actually wanted to see Mickey because
how did this change your mood?
because
though you were
it
already
was-
happy.
It was so unbelievable to wait. Again,
15
last year
minutes.
we waited 4.5
No, actually, I
hours.
looked at it was 3 hours 50 because I thought
three-
it was
only 3:50.
only 3:50.
Okay,
But
all
we
right.
thought we were told 90, but then it slowed down a lot. So
I prefer 15 minutes.
50, I couldn't believe it. So we this is before fireworks. It's 45 minutes before the fireworks start. I don't know where everybody is, but they weren't waiting for Jack and Sally.
Mickey's line was longer. They said Mickey's line was double
Right.
the wait.
I don't know if Mickey's was actually. I think he was probably about 15 also. But when you can get Jack and Sally for 15 minutes, it was amazing, and they are probably my favorite meet and greet all year long, but especially when it's not almost 4 hours.
You're happier when you get to them.
Of course. Like yeah.
And on top of all of that goodness, Jack did the famous Jack Skellington cackle for me, which was just
Really
the
great.
icing on the cake. He even got a standing ovation from others in the crowd, and of course we'll link to that
Yeah,
in the
an
video.
ovation,
And of course
because
they were
they were-
standing anyway.
they were
but
already
it
standing.
was standing.
But
it counts.
I just want to mention that after the fireworks, it got very busy because a lot of guests will leave the park, but a lot of guests go straight to the characters here, and the whole queue inside was full. So after fireworks, I don't really recommend. Prior to fireworks, you might want to check it out if you have not met them.
Yeah, and here is they did another great job with the photo pass picture. We're going to go a little out of sequence because we did, as you just mentioned, after fireworks is when we came to meet Mickey. And
I love the fangs.
yeah, I love the fangs too. I wish he really had the fangs in the. But
You
here
didn't
is
even show how long the line was getting.
well, here is Mickey in his new outfit.
And again, I mentioned a coordinating look with Minnie, who is in Storybook Circus. But he has, I mean, I really do like the outfits this year. And you've got the purple shoes. It really is, like, she is mostly
I like
purple
the
and
spider
green.
too. I didn't really notice the spider in his bow tie.
Yeah, I did. And really, you've got the spider webs on the legs and also the spider web on the hat.
That was great when she said turn
Mm-hmm.
around, and then he did a full 360-degree turn. Mickey is quite the funny mouse.
Well, she was making sure he was neat and pretty for the
for
photos.
the photos,
yes.
right? But just always a great time.
But you
meeting
forgot to get the photo pass picture.
Well, there's not a real photo pass person. It's a machine, and I don't know if you're supposed to hit your magic band against something. We're gonna have to go and try to get a picture
We'll
again.
try to do that again.
I was distracted by doing the video.
Of course. But I guess probably on your way out, you're supposed to maybe beep it. But, I prefer having a live person do the
Right.
photo pass.
Of course. It's always better. So, in actuality, after we met Jack and Sally, I ran out up here and I managed to get rather close to the castle. I like to get close because in this version of the fireworks, you have Jack Skellington, a Jack Skellington puppet who is amazing. This is actually called Disney's Not So Spooky Spectacular Fireworks.
And he is like a life-size puppet. And I remember the first time that we saw him, and I think that was 2019. Really,
Yeah,
just
it
to
was.
see him come out in front of the castle. And we waited a long time. I think we waited an hour and a half or something.
Well, we
waited-
wanted to be front row center.
Right.
And it was worth the wait because the first time you see him, it was really amazing. And even after all these years, I was so happy I was able to get up close because I just love this.
And you were able to get it really kind of pretty last minute, considering we had just seen Jack and Sally, and then you get to see Jack again.
Well, for some reason, most guests weren't going right up. I think I was in the third or fourth row, and I think most guests want to go a little farther back.
Right.
And I kind of gave up a great view of the fireworks. You still can see the projections, awesome, and you still see Jack. So to me, it's worth that trade-off.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, you can see it if you do two parties. You can try both angles.
But, the projections are really great, and that really is what makes this show, plus Jack Skellington. If you're just looking for fireworks, I like to be on the Tomorrowland Speedway
Right.
to watch the fireworks because I think it's such a great
Now, this is
location.
your story to tell. While I was doing that,
I saw that there was a trick-or-treat location inside Princess Fairy Tale Hall, so I was like, well, I was wondering what it would look like, and I walked in, and there's Maleficent. And there is also the Evil Queen on the other side. And I was like, oh, because we were wondering where they were all night.
so were most guests interacting with them, or were they kind of taking a picture and then getting their candy? Like, how did the flow of it go?
I think that the flow of it was going relatively quickly. I think most guests did not realize they were in here. And so it was probably kind of a surprise. And so you're kind of just moving along, and there weren't that many guests in there, really.
And this is the first night that happened, we found
Right.
out. So it was a test, and hopefully it'll continue, because I think it's great. We'll check it out tomorrow for sure.
But if they do, then it's going to get much longer, because the guests on this night did not know that they would be there.
Of course, yeah. Total surprise.
But now everybody would know. And
Right.
so it would be a long line.
But it was after 11 that you found them. And
Yes.
also, we have the special Halloween twist on various attractions, one of them being the Mad Tea Party.
And there's also one for Space Mountain. And I just want to mention, if you take the People Mover, let's say you decide not to do Space Mountain, take the People Mover, because you can still get a little of that experience from there.
So now we're looking at the Hocus Pocus Villain Spelltacular. I left you at 11:30 to head over here and try to get a good spot. Right when I got to the castle area, the second Boo to You parade was just getting to this area. So there were almost nobody up against where the stage is. So I was able to get a front row spot at 11:30 for the 12 o'clock show and watch the whole Boo to You from a distance go by. So it kind of worked out.
And the 12 o'clock show, as long as it goes on, because sometimes there could be
right.
weather or just an issue with the show, is a great time to go, because then you see it without it going into your party time. And because of this, and also probably everyone saying that late is a good time to be here, it's much busier at 12:30 to 1 a.m.
So we're looking at the Oogie Boogie segment. You just saw previous Dr. Fastillier, and after that we're going to see
Maleficent.
Frightful Friends. That's the third element of the potion, would be the Frightful Friends, and we'll see the emergence of the Frightful Friends, starting with, looks like that is the Evil Queen.
And we saw Maleficent and the Evil Queen. They got over here very quickly.
They
from
move fast.
Princess
They do
Fairy
move.
Tale
They
Hall.
move quick.
So I do enjoy this show, but I don't usually, like you went to go kind of stand a little bit, but I was kind of trying to see a little more of the park.
And we saw Hades. I believe Hades this year will be making an appearance at the
Oogie Boogie Bash. That's what they teased. So
Right. We don't know that for sure, but we'll
Right.
find out.
And this is our third time seeing Cruella for the evening.
Yeah, Cruella has really made the rounds during this party.
This has become really an iconic show for, it's hard to believe it's almost 10 years old for Mickey's Not So Scary.
And seeing these villains, it's unique. You have a face character version of Captain Hook. And Jafar also, who will be coming up.
I think it's kind of time for, some of them to make, it would be nice to see them as face characters in the park.
I think people would love that.
Yes.
And I'm really hoping that we get something like that in Oogie Boogie Bash.
I hope so as well. And here
Lady
we have,
Tremaine?
yes. And so you've got the Sanderson sisters behind the cauldron. Again, they're making that Hocus Pocus party potion.
Even after 10 years, the roar of the crowd was deafening. I was afraid to turn around because I was truly in the very front, but I could tell there was a lot of guests. I mean, where were you? You made it over there by midnight. You
did.
took some great pictures, by the way. I was surprised from a distance.
I was from a distance, so they, it wasn't like I was right up on the castle, but it was a good amount of guests. Look at this. This is, after 12:30. It used to be, years ago, I would tell everyone, at this time, there was nobody on Main Street, and, go enjoy really the music and the sights and the sounds. But it's much busier now, later. And we don't even stay till the end anymore. The very, very end when the last guests leave.
And you could see from the clock, it is about 12, almost 12:40.
That's, more guests stay later than they used to. Some guests still leave though after parade and such.
And I'm glad that they keep the projections on and the Halloween music and everything. It's nice that even though the party is
officially
technically over, it's still beautiful. We're just looking at some of the decorations. Let's just my overall take was it's a great party. I think it is improved for me somehow. I can't put my finger on it. I like the touch of the villains and the little extras. I do miss having the dwarfs, so there is one character meet less. But they do have Bruno, which we didn't show. We didn't. Oh,
that's
meet Bruno.
Right. We didn't even mention Mirabelle.
And Bruno.
And Bruno.
So we might see them if we can, although we just saw them in California. Also, Stitch, Elvis Stitch. We'll probably meet Elvis Stitch maybe during fireworks the next party.
There's a handful of characters we'll see. I mean, I would like to see even more changes to the party, but I do like that they mixed it up a little more this year, I think, than last year. I would like to see a few more villains out. There's when I went into Gaston's Tavern, since I had been to Princess Fairy Tale Hall, I thought, well, maybe Gaston will be in here, but he's not in there. So that would be really nice
to me, to make this an even more awesome experience, I would like to see half Oogie Boogie Bash style. So you go and you do trick-or-treating, and while you're trick-or-treating, you have characters, entertainment, not meetable characters, but just you're having that, just like Oogie Boogie Bash. And then half traditional, and I'd like to see the parade, about half of the parade refreshed.
I think that would be really good too. And we did forget to mention, because we didn't experience everything, like when we go, we experienced more in one evening than I think we normally do,
right,
which was really great.
But we didn't see the new Descendants dance party. We didn't see the Disney Junior Jam. Those are two things.
Rusty Cutlass
we didn't see.
Some of the entertainment,
the
Haunted Mansion.
Right, Haunted Mansion, which usually has entertainment. I mean, there's still a lot for us to see.
But also we haven't ridden anything. So I wanted to mention that last year the Tron was on the virtual queue, but this year Tron and Tiana's Bayou Adventure are standby. So I read that at 6 p.m. is when they start, which would be the closing time for the Magic Kingdom, but before the official parties start. So check that out, because maybe you'll get to ride.
And I have also read that later on in the evening, as expected, the lines for both of those get better and better.
But even earlier I've read, some things, let's say you've gone to one parade and so you're not going to the other one, there's a lot of times you can do fun things in that time, so that characters or rides and such, and they won't be as busy.
So we just showed so much that can be done at the party, and yet we're going to another party tomorrow. We're probably not going to really repeat anything except for maybe the parade.
Mickey.
But I mean, there's so much else that we'll be able to see. So for us, 2 parties does make sense, especially in August when the price is for an annual pass holder, it's $109. That's the cheapest you're going to get all for any party all year. So
and they're all
to me,
I
think they're all sold out as of now. So to me, I think it's actually a pretty good deal. For us.
No, I thought it was a good deal. And again, like I mentioned, the rides, People Mover, just like at Christmas, I like to ride the People Mover because you get atmosphere.
Oh, that's right. I forgot Space Mountain.
That's what I tried to say earlier.
It's dark.
They have the music, so the spooky music, and especially if you're not riding Space Mountain, you get a little of that atmosphere, some of that spooky music and the darkness, and you get to enjoy it on the People Mover. And I love the People Mover. I like it all year round, but at Christmas also because you get to enjoy the music from the Tomorrowland Speedway, and also you go through Space Mountain. So I love it because the People Mover is almost like another Halloween attraction in that sense.
Hopefully, if we can ride Space Mountain. It's been a couple of years since we've done the party version of it.
Right.
I mean, we've ridden it, of course.
Maybe we'll do it tomorrow.
So anyway, thanks again for listening. We want to thank our sponsor, MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel.
Head to their website. They don't only do Disney, but right now, obviously today we're talking only about Disney and really only about the Magic Kingdom. But there's so much Halloween. There's Halloween on the High Seas with the Disney Cruise Line. There's Oogie, well, you can't do Oogie Boogie Bash because that's all sold out. But there's still all kinds of other Halloween at Disneyland. So this is a good time if you're, just wanting a little Halloween. And of course, Halloween at Disneyland Paris is coming on October 1st. So head to MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, or for Christmas, or there's so much going on this year.
And, there's been a lot that's happened since our last show because we, of course, attended the D23 Ultimate Fan Event.
And we didn't even talk about that.
We didn't even talk about that because there's just way too much to say. So we will give our full opinions. We're even, well, I plan to. We're still, we may even try to do something that you've been asking about for a long time, and that would be to do it more of podcast style.
Well, to do a podcast, yeah.
Right, because, there is just so much to talk about from the expo, and it's taken us a while to really process all the announcements and all the changes. So we will get that as soon as we can.
But we also have videos of a lot of the announcements.
All the announcements. We have I recorded the entire 2.5-hour presentation, and pretty much all of it is up. Maybe I'll just put it all together and put the whole thing up.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. It was an exciting night to be there. Just
like this Mickey's Not So Scary, we've been to all 8 expos, and I would say, maybe outside of the first one, this was a fantastic expo. I had a great time, better than expected, and it was great.
Mm-hmm. No, I had a great time. The first one,
it's hard to beat the first one because it was.
You could do anything during the first one with no problem because it wasn't that busy, and
it was also 4 days back then.
It was, the first one will always probably be my favorite, but this was a really good expo, and so many announcements. There's a few little issues like, Rivers of America.
Little issues.
It's not really a little issue. I will miss Rivers of America. That will be, I think that's the big thing.
And the whole thing with the Muppets, too.
Well, hopefully
that might be resolved. I don't necessarily think we have to lose the Muppets.
But we might not. Like, it might be, the Star Wars, what do they, Launch Bay area.
And that area makes sense because there's a lot of corporate stuff going on in that area behind it. So anyway, we should stop now because we could just go on and on for an hour about that. So anyway, thanks again for listening. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Happy Halloween, and boo to you.
Happy Halloween, and we'll have to say that many times over, and have a great week.